It all started with the love of detective story since my childhood. You must know about the famous kids writer, Ishtiaq Ahmed. I was freak of his detective stories, Inspector Jamshed series, Inspector Kamran Mirza series, and Shoki Brothers series. Later on, I also developed my love for Imran series. And further later, I longed for Sherlock Holmes detective stories as well. And I still do. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and all the online participants, I remember these detective stories helped me develop in myself few important traits, such as being investigative, being observant, analytical, conclusive. I remember when I went on my very first ever audit client, I was still in the world of detectives. I reached over the client, Eversworth, my senior, and other staff members hadn't yet arrived. Our coordinator showed me the CFO's room and asked me to go and meet with him. I still remember while I was walking towards his room, I was in place of being audit assistant, more of an inspector, carrying Inspector Jamshed inside me. And two of his famous sayings were resonating in my mind at that point. Number one, whenever look at the other person, always look with the eye of doubt. Might be criminal. Number two, a crime cannot keep hidden, and definitely one day it is unveiled and caught. Having this kind of thinking in my mind, I entered the CFO room, went and sat in front of him. Cutting short, the meeting went pleasant. However, during the meeting and during my communication and conversation with him, I kept looking at him because I was Inspector Junaid at that time. With all the investigative, observatory, skeptic looks, judging him from top to bottom. Later on, when my senior came, he asked me, Junaid, how did your meeting go, CFO? And I said to him, look, number one, he looked mysterious. And number two, I'm sure that he is hiding some important information from us. And number three, he asked me, whenever you are stuck in somewhere, always come to me and ask for my help. I said to my senior, that looks a connected office. And last but not the least, I noticed a window in his room, which he can use to run away. His crime is gone. And my senior put his hand on his forehead and shaking him. However, later on, I went on many audit clients, one after the other. During audits, we perform certain audit procedures or techniques, two of which are inquiry and observation. And where those detective stories based developed skills helped me big time. I would go to a client, stand behind staff, looking at the activities being performed. That's observation. I would go to a client, ask questions from different personnel to find out what is relevant to me. That's inquiry. Therefore, having completed my agriculture from PwC, spending a considerable time over there, and spending nearly a decade in the corporate sector, now I can tell you what is the technique that a professional or a man of character should use when he or she is communicating with other person, whether it be a client, businessman, common man, When you meet, number one, never look at the other person with the eye of doubt. Unless you are Inspector Jimshi, or rather Inspector Junaid, because that's their job. Moreover, if someone has told you some negative traits, things about that person, still be positive about that person. However, be skeptic to know whether the adversity told to you actually lies in him or her. In our lives, many times, we mistake a right person as the wrong one, only because of pre-perceiving or stereotype. Number two, when the other person is telling you something, always take it as truth, excluding politicians and news media. They are exceptions. Don't assume that the other person is lying to you until and unless you have conclusive evidence or information leading towards the lie. And number three, last but not the least, whenever communicate with others, always be offering and helping them. Because the world cannot go in the right direction until and unless we are ready to help. Willingly, it all started the love of detectives. So Inspector Junaid cum Chartered Accountant, signing off.